the part is we need to install our Doxy from here. So let's install that. So npm install Doxy. So that will install our npm Doxy in our process. So yeah, let's do that first. So in the time of installing the whole thing, let's look at the Doxy. So doxy.site is their URL, so you can go there and they have a pretty decent documentation which you can easily look into, like how to create all those things. So we also need to install add these three script to in our package.json to run the Doxy in our local, so that we can see like what we are building. So we are also going to copy this three and we will do that. Okay, so it's taking a little bit. Sorry about the native speed, I guess. So by the way, in the meantime, we can do one quick thing, that is like for using with the TypeScript, we have to add this TypeScript true in our root. So we need to create a file called docs.rc. So let's copy that and let's create on this particular point. And now we need to add that, like export default TypeScript. So yeah, so we are allowing the TypeScript in our Doxy. So that's how it's going to work. And once we install it, let's just add those three scripts in our documentation so that we can use that. Okay, so having impact. We'll check. Let's try to see. It's still taking a little bit time. I'm not sure why. Maybe my internet connection is a little slow on this point. By the way, can you guys hear me clearly? That is one question, because I think my internet is a little bit slow right now. Okay.
You're audible.
Sounds good. And here is our NextJS that we built here. So one of the quick note about this, make sure you have the React and React DOM as dependencies more than like 16.8 that's needed to work with the Doxy. So yeah, that's something you need to know about it also. Also, as I first mentioned about the Gatsby and how you can change the theme, you can see the themes and do it from here. Like there is a powered by Gatsby customization, so you can see like how to add dark mode or some other things from this documentation. It's quite easy to understand, and yeah, you can do that. Also, like you can create your own themes, so that also possible with it. And yeah, those things. And if you want to customize any webpack configuration, you can do it from here too. So that's okay too. It's still taking a little bit time. Okay, so will changes get reflected automatically? Yeah, when you were running that dev, like as I showed you, like the first one, if we go here, getting started. So when we are using the docs.dev, like running by docs.dev, then we can easily see that from our local host. I mean, it's run on the local host 3000 normally, so we can see it from there. So that's the question answer of for Joshua. And Sharu, there is another question. So do you think that having a bad documentation is better than no documentation at all? uh, I mean, normally one of the good thing is like you need to write the code so that it's quite understandable. So that is one of the thing we need to do. But if we don't have that, then maybe it's better to have a bad documentation somehow, because there are a lot of companies who has the bad documentation, but it's better than having nothing at all, because then I mean nobody can really understand anything of that. So having a little documentation maybe helps. So if someone new join on the project, maybe they will try to make it better. But if there is no documentation, then most of the people will not even try to manage that. So yeah, it's better to have something at least. So can you share some tricks of crafting a really good documentation? So about the really good documentation, I will say one of the great, if you're writing JavaScript, then stop writing JavaScript and try to convert it into TypeScript, because once you start with the TypeScript, it become so easy to maintain a lot of things. Because you will have like if you go here, we can see like the button props. You already have understanding like what the text will be like. This text should be a string, then this variant should be like primary or secondary something from here. So it's a quite good understandable concept already. So it's better to have TypeScript on your project. So if you are using JavaScript, that's a good choice. And second way about the documentation is, if find out who you are writing the documentation, like anyone else from outside who will read this, or like someone inside. So when you are writing for, like, suppose you have a company and you have a project for that, and you need someone to join on the company, then try to focus on that, like how they can start and how they can process through all of the things for the specific company, because that is also needed. Like whenever you are onboarding someone, that part is really needed for you. And another thing, like when you are writing for general, so try to spend some time and ask different people to like how they think like it will improve. Because if the same thing is used by a lot of different state of developers, like different people comes from different areas, so you need to have that also mind, like not using highly I mean the great good words, not the good words, I mean the complex words on your writing. Also like have some good example, if possible have some image. Those things is going to help you to write a really good documentation. Also, if possible, I mean answer anything that they can really ask, like do that before they are asking about that. Okay, so that's how we can do that. So yeah, now our Doxy is installed, so I'm going to do a little copy paste from for my this uh, that scripts, because we are not going to write that down by us. So script, copy that, and let's put that on our package.json. So here, maybe after the linting I can just put that. So before running it, we can just try to run it in. Now we are not going to run our dev one, because we already know the output on that side. So we are going to run the doxy. Okay, so let's see, npm run doxy dev, and now it's going to open on 3000 port. So let's just go to the 3000 on our side. So we have the old one. Once we refresh, it's going to change, and it didn't load yet, so it's loading right now. It's building the app, you can see from here. So For the first time it will take a little bit time because it's loading all the details from here, and we didn't run it before. So yeah, it is going to take a little bit of time on that. In the meantime, let's start creating the button MDX, because that is what we are going to use. So button MDX is our for the documentation about our button. So let's just do that, and I think it's built it right now. And see, once we just run this up, and it already have so much data, right? Because we have something called readme, which comes with the Next.js thing we install. So this is one of the good thing we can do. So first, we can tell everyone like how to run the app or anything from here. So to run, let's just say, so Doxy, I can put that. So to run the app, let's just run the command like which is needed. So npm run dev is running to run the Doxy. Let's just take this one. Also, we can run like to run the app. First, we need to so we can use yarn too, but it's up to you, like if you want to use that. And once we save it again, and it should update, it's normally don't update, so it's creating by gets by. So once you refresh it, it will update. And now if we go to the Next.js, see, it's going like development page because we don't have any data on particularly here. So one of the quick thing we can do once we start this, so let's just add something like let's just add a name for this one. Let's call it button component. So once we call that, and see from here, let's go back and try to hit it again. So button component, and still we don't have anything because we are not writing anything here. So one of the quick thing we can do, import the button, so that or maybe before importing the button, you can just write like all, but let's give a heading like all button components. Okay, we'll get both version. So first, like look at the all buttons we have like this. First one will be the primary button, right? We have a primary button, and then we also have a secondary button. So let's just add that, and we need to maybe refresh this one. Still going. I think one of the reason is it's statically generate the pages. That's why it's not totally updating with time. So let's try to run the whole process again, because we have added the file once we ran it. So yeah, building up. In our MDX, we can import the button too. So once it load, in the meantime, when it's loading, let's import the button. So import button from index. Okay, so and now we are calling the button primary, and let's call the button text as primary button, and variant will be the primary. And let's call the secondary version. So let's check like if I'm misspelling anything. Let's run the page and see. We can see the primary button and secondary button. Maybe I'm doing it too big, so make it little small. So you can see the primary button and secondary button from here. Let's just make it a little more small, I think. Okay, so now it looks better. And so this is how we can show up the buttons on our page, and we can also host this on anywhere, so that you can have the anyone can have the access, like what it look like or what it should look like, from just understanding. Maybe before joining in your company, you can just show it to them, and they will understand like how to work with it and everything. So in the meantime, like it doesn't really give us much idea, right? Because we don't know which value to send whenever or somewhere. So let's just add the props we have. Like in our props we have the string, primary, secondary. We should let everyone knows about that, right? Because otherwise it doesn't really make sense. So to do this, first we need to import the props, which is a we need to use get it from the Doxy. Okay, so now for the button props, let's just do it like button props. And it's a quite easier way when you are using TypeScript. Otherwise you have to do it by yourself. And once you are using the TypeScript, it can easily get the props, and it will show it easily here. Have a refresh the thing. See, we have the button props, and you can see like it's a text is going to be a string, and the variant will be primary or secondary, and it's also required. So let's just make it maybe not required, like giving a thing. So let's see like if it is changing anything. So it didn't load the whole thing, I guess. Okay, so I think we need to rerun the whole process, but yeah, I'm not going for that. But yeah, for this way we can do the whole setup. Don't you think it's quite easy to make a button, a component, and then documented it? Also, you can create multiple, like I create for the button, so maybe you can create two files, like another secondary button file for showing your secondary file. Or if you want, you can do it on one place, like this primary button. And also you can do multiple times the props, maybe like if you have different props for different button, like this way. If you want to do that for secondary, you should have different props, and for the first you have different props, so you can show that in that way too. So those things are available on the Doxy, and I will say let's you can explore more from the Doxy documentation, and that is doxy.site. I will share the link on here so that you can access that. And that's not in QA, I should share that on chat. So yeah, in the chat I also share that. Also I created I will share the links I have, like the documentation, the blog, and also the other thing. Yeah, so I have shared all the links. I have like the Canva, then I have the Aviyel one, and also the NextJS TypeScript one. So yeah, I think this quite fine. I would like to show a little bit about the blog I wrote, because that's going to give you more idea like what to do on. So if you're looking for that, Aviyel is creating a lot of blogs for different things. So you can go to the aviyel.com, and it will hit you to the discussion, and you can see all of the things they are posting, and we are also trying to make it better. So here is my one. So this one I also explain everything, and we also have a GitHub version with it. So if we just look at this version, we have, okay, so see, this one is directly hosting inside of GitHub pages, and if you want to host your things for free, you can just use GitHub pages. And I wrote all the details how you can hosting in the GitHub page. So go to the link and try to read it from there. It will be helpful for everyone. So also if you have any question anywhere, just let me know, I'll answer that.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for that session, Mohammed. I think it was definitely really useful. You kind of displayed how easy it was to create components using Doxy and on TypeScript and using TypeScript and Next.js. So, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Like Mohammed had described, you can definitely find the article for the entire thing on Aviyel, which helps you create a documentation site or a GitHub page using Doxy with Next.js and TypeScript. Feel free to leave comments on that article. If you have any questions, Mohammed will definitely come back to you guys and respond. Thank you so much for joining on a Sunday, everyone. I hope this was very useful. Mohammed, big shout out. Thank you so much for joining. I think this was a really useful session. Looking forward to more sessions.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for creating this amazing platform so that anyone can, share their ideas about open source and everything. And
Absolutely.
see
Yeah,
you.
really hoping that, we can really kickstart sort of a small movement around open source and help people form small communities around these projects.
Yeah.